Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Family Show, the very awesome Family Show, Season 2, Episode 6. I got Bill Abernathy with me, and your new album is Crossing Willow Creek. And I was reading in your other interview that there's a real interesting story behind um, that song. And I'm kind of interested in that because I've written a couple songs in my life before, so I'm always interested in like where the inspiration hits you for those type of songs. So what was going on with that one when it came to you?
So I assume that you're talking about the Willow Creek song, yeah, kind of
Yeah,
the theme, yeah. So the Willow Creek song is really, uh, it's about me. It's about where the music that I make and the music that's in me comes from, and it started at a place, a physical place that we lived in when I was a kid, right? And back behind, we had this big house, and back behind the house was this bank of willow trees, and just on the other side of those was a creek. And though the official name of the creek was called Spring Branch Creek, I always called it Willow Creek because it was always surrounded by willows. And I always like to say, and it's not a story, it's true that I actually learned how to play the guitar and write songs sitting underneath one of those willow trees there by the side of the creek. And it's kind of that song kind of talks about my family and where I came from and where the music comes from. And I think the message of that story is of that song is not necessarily about that place because that place no longer exists. It's been torn down and is now a shopping mall, probably, right? But
right.
the place itself, the memories, the thoughts, the things that I took from that place live with me every day. And I always try to find that real simple, innocent place called Willow Creek when I'm writing songs. So that's really what it's about.
Yeah, when you talk about getting turned into a shopping mall or whatever, I'm I'm only 37, so I'm not that old yet, in the grand scheme of life. But even in my lifetime, going past stuff like where I went to high school has changed. They've built some stuff from where when I went to high school, and places I worked that when I like I worked at Radio Shack that doesn't even exist anymore. So it's things like that I start seeing time go by, and you probably seen a lot go by in your life, and
Well, my
uh,
life, my life's a little bit longer than yours for sure, right?
right,
So yeah, I've seen a few changes over time for sure. Yeah,
right, yeah, my um I lost my dad when I was younger, when I was 20, and I heard your story on another interview you did where you tried to get there and you couldn't quite make it, and I
yeah.
really empathized with you because my dad just had a heart attack in the middle of the night,
Hmm.
and it's like I wish I could just say I love you one more time to him, and it's probably have the same thoughts of just that, if nothing else.
Yeah, that tune, that was a day for me, kind of an awakening, if you would, right? So it's actually not on Crossing Willow Creek. It's on the previous album that's called Find a Way. And the day that my dad passed, I was at work and I was sitting in my office doing my 9 to 5 thing. And I got a call from my sister who was at the hospital. And though we knew that the time was near, right? Nobody knows exactly when, right? So she called me
Mhm.
and she said, Bill, the time's really close. You should come. You should come to the hospital now. So what I did I finished up about 10 minutes worth of work and then drove to the hospital and missed seeing my dad for that last time by 5 minutes. So that was kind of a sad moment for me. But out of that came really the inspiration for my album that's called Find a Way, and for the song, the title cut of that is also called Find a Way. You see, my dad had a piece of advice that he gave me that he told me I don't even know how many times in the course of my life, and I actually think about it every day. Is that that piece of advice is quite simply, if you want something bad enough in life, right, and you're
Mhm.
willing to put in the blood, the sweat, the tears, and the toil to make it happen, you can always find a way. to make it happen. And so when I wrote the Find a Way song, it's really I'm reminiscing, right, about many of the things that my dad did and many of the things that he taught me, many of the lessons that he did. And it's really kind of a powerful song for me. But the interesting thing with that tune is during the recording process, at the end of one of the takes, you know, the recording where you'd have multiple takes, right? And so at the end
Mhm.
of one of the takes, I was kind of waiting to hear back, and I just started plunking around, right? And my dad had an absolute favorite song, and he loved to hear me play this tune. And it's really not a song that, you know, I'm just going to bust out and play. But at the end of that take of that recording session, I actually played a pure acoustic version of his favorite song, which happens to be a tune called "The Wildwood Flower." And I always call it one of those mystical, magical things that happens in the studio, because if you listen to that particular song called "Find a Way," you'll hear that outtake.
Mhm.
Outtake of that song is actually me sitting in the studio just playing my dad's favorite song. And I always like to say it's kind of my way to say I love you one more time, right? My way to find a
Right.
way to make that happen. So it's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, I made a video here on my channel as a thank you to my dad. So I kind of know how you feel on that. Like this, thank you for teaching me to be able to work on cars and all that kind of stuff. That when you're younger, at least for me, like I can't appreciate all that stuff till I'm older.
Yeah.
Like you know, it takes years to get perspective on things for sure. And
Yeah,
and
and I think we all go through that, right? We all go through that phase where, you know, your dad's kind of your hero and stuff when you're little, and then you get to where you think you know everything, right? You get
mhm,
really what you consider to be smart, and then eventually you actually do get smart and realize how smart your dad is, and all the
right,
things that you draw on every day that you get from them.
yeah,
So that's cool. That's cool that you made a show for your father. That's great.
yeah, and you can be more appreciative of everything you had when you're a kid too, because you see what it takes to make all the regular stuff happen. So
Yeah.
it it makes going back, and that's your one song can't going back when you're talking about memories and stuff like that. And I saw the little video that you had put together. Um, Did you get to enjoy reminiscing a lot of stuff in your memories when you were making that song?
Yeah, that song kind of came out of a jam session, actually. So um, I had an old friend that I played with when I was a kid. So yeah, you probably read the story that I played a bunch when I was young, and then I stopped, right,
Hmm.
and raised a family and did the whole corporate thing and all that. And now I'm kind of swinging back into it. Actually, I'm actually going to retire from my corporate gig that I've been at for 43 years.
Nice.
And in about 30. So excuse me, I'm going to look down. I have a brand new puppy that I
Oh
got
man.
for quarantine, and he's laying at my feet asleep. And I think every time I move, I'm rolling over him with the chair. I'm not real sure, but uh, yeah, yeah. But I had his jam session with this old buddy of mine, and we just kind of got to reminiscing. You know, somebody I hadn't seen for 10 or 15 years, and we got to reminiscing and telling stories about some of the shows that we'd done and some of the people that we had met. And we started thinking about how cool it would be to go back and redo that, you know, all over
Hmm.
again. And there's a story in the song that talks about how I had a girlfriend, you know. I mean, all songs
Yeah.
are really about some girl at some point, right? And I had this girlfriend back in the day, and you know, we got broke up and separated, and life went on. And 35 years later, you know, we found out that we were both in a similar life situation where we were single again. Yeah, and so I thought, well, this would be fun. You know, we'll just get back together. It'll be just like old times. And yeah, there's a danger in doing that, man. Yeah, it's not always you know, rainbows and moonbeams, right? And so
Right.
one of the lines in the song, I got a kick out of this when I was on tour earlier this year. I was down in Texas playing, and some guy from the audience requested that I play that song, but he didn't call it "Can't Go Back," which is the actual name of the song. He yelled out, he said, "Hey, Bill, can you play that hot mess in a red sequin dress
Yeah,
song?"
I
So
heard that song, that line sticks from you in your head, and I've been there before with exes before, so I feel you on that song. But it
oh
stuck in
yeah.
my head. Um,
Yeah, and that particular meeting, I learned more in 15 minutes about that person's life than I ever wanted to know again. So yeah, sometimes that flashing back and going back and revisiting all those things that you've done and all those good times that you had. Sometimes it's really cool, and
yeah,
sometimes it's the hot mess in a red sequin dress. So you just never know.
yeah, yeah, you never know because I mean, um, that time apart, really can you don't know what's happened in their life since you last saw each other. So, and
Yeah.
you've probably changed since you last saw each other. So it's kind of you're meeting a different person, even though you know that person from before.
Yeah, we all change, right? We all change, and there's another tune actually on the Crossing Willow Creek album called "Changes," and it kind of explores that. It explores how changes in your life, and when I introduce that song, I always start off with, "Wouldn't it be great if all of the dreams and all of the ideas and all the concepts that we had when we were 18 years old all just came to be?" Probably not, right?
Yep,
Because we were
probably
so
not.
limited, right? We were so limited in
Mm,
what we do and the experiences that we'd had, and I think that our ability to change and our ability to adapt to change and our ability to embrace it and learn from it is really, really what makes us who we are. The tagline in that song is quite simply, "Change always teaches us to be everything we're destined to be." And
yeah,
if I was that smart that I could dream up what I wanted to be for the rest of my life when I was 18 years old, I wouldn't be talking to you, man. I'd be out there hanging with Einstein and those guys, right? So,
yeah.
it's the life experiences. It's the life experiences that really help you become the person that you are, right?
Well, and then the opposite side of that too is I always ask people um, the question quite often is if you could go back in a time machine and tell yourself what your life story's been up to this point, would you believe yourself? And most people go, no, I wouldn't believe I'm sitting right here because it's usually, and you may have had this experience as well. Maybe one person telling you that you're good at singing or playing guitar, and that gave you the confidence to keep going, and maybe you thought you had something.
Yeah, I think we've all had that, right? We've all had people come up and say, "This is your thing and this is what you should do," and all that. But again, you can't really just rely on what other people tell you, right? You have to
Hmm.
become who you are and be confident in who you are and do what you want to do. I was talking with a young singer songwriter not too long ago, and they asked me, they said, "What is your one piece of advice that you would give me as a young singer songwriter?" Right? And I just
Hmm.
told them, be who you are, right? Understand, learn who you are, be who you are. Don't try to be John Mayer, don't try to be Dave Grohl, don't try to be all these other people. It's
Right.
cool to learn, right? And to see them and to see what they do. But you got to be yourself because that's the only way you're really ever going to be happy is to just
Yeah.
say, here I am. And not everybody's going to like it. I know that's a surprise. It's a shock, right? That
Right.
not everybody's going to like your music and not everybody's going to like your podcast. But at the end of the day, if you're comfortable and you're happy with it and you're being who you are and not trying to pretend to be somebody else, that's really where it's all about. And, I've found that when you're true to that, when you're true to yourself, there are people out there that get it. There are people out there
Hmm.
that understand it, and there are people out there that are going to be fans because you really are authentic. You're not
Right.
trying to be something that you're not. And so sometimes it's a bit hard to find those people and to find that fan base. But, over time, it'll happen. And at least you could look back and say, as old Blue Eyes said, I did it my way. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And one that I saw that you played because you're kind of doing it your way. I mean, you're talking about requests, and I thought Honestly, I thought it was the best thing ever because I have my own story with Freebird. But when you did a Stairway to Freebird, when you played that, I thought that was the best thing ever. Um, because I mean I learned how to play guitar when I first was learning uh, the I started learning the intro to Stairway to Heaven. I think a lot of people do is one of the first things that they want to learn.
Sure.
But Freebird, I was in an MRI machine. They're like, well, you're going to be in there about 30 minutes. Do you want to listen to some music? I'm like, sure. And then the first song that plays is Freebird. I'm like, well, I'll know when I'm halfway done with the MRI then.
Yeah, that's true. I'd like to take credit for that. That Stairway to Freebird thing. It's really a funny thing. I'm not real big on taking requests, right?
Mm.
Excuse me. But when you do open up that Pandora's box of requests, it is inevitable that you are
Yeah.
going to get the same songs requested, right? And if you're an acoustic guitar player, everybody wants to hear Stairway to Heaven, right? Just done. It is the most iconic guitar intro of any song ever written.
Right.
Everybody knows it. You hit three notes, everybody knows what you're playing, right? And
Right.
there's only so many times you could play Stairway to Heaven, right? And then of course, Freebird, right, from a guitar player's standpoint, is one of the best guitar leads ever done, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so when people want to hear those, that's awesome, right? But at the end of the day, I'm one dude with one guitar, right? Most of the time. And I can't bust into Freebird and play that and give it any kind of homage.
Yep.
So there's a guy that I follow on YouTube. His name is Monty Montgomery, and he is a fantastic guitar player, and happens to play the same brand of guitars that I play
Mm-hmm.
several of. And I was looking at, and Monty got tired of people, always requesting the same songs over and over again. So he did that kind of mashup of Stairway to Freebird, where you play the Stairway to Heaven music and you sing the lyrics from Freebird. And it really sends the message. And people think it's fun, and it's kind of a fun
Yeah.
thing to do. And so, when you do that, you get kind of the response that you got. You went, "Oh God, look at that! That's funny," and you
Yeah.
you you
Yeah.
check the box. I played Stairway to Heaven and I played Freebird. Okay, let's move on.
Right.
next,
Right.
next. All right.
Right. Oh man. Um, that for me, because I ran karaoke for a little while, there were always songs that I knew where people were gonna choose to sing. Like
Exactly.
almost every time there were always those songs, and it was like, okay, here we go. Every once in a while, somebody would do them good, but most of the time it was like they're probably new to karaoke and don't know what works for them yet in their vocal range anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'm not a fan of karaoke, but I was at a corporate event for my 9 to 5, and a bunch of European colleagues. I work for a global company, and a bunch of European colleagues were in, and it's huge. The karaoke thing is huge in Europe, right? And so I
mhm.
asked them, I said, "Well, what do you guys want to do? Let's go out and have a good time, get some dinner." And they said, "Let's go to karaoke," right? And I see karaoke as a travesty of all things musical. It's fun, but it's karaoke, right? And so we go to
Right.
this place, and of course we had a few drinks, and we're laughing and giggling. We've been working hard all week long, and these people are friends of mine. I've worked with them for forever, and they did convince me after about probably too many beers, right, that I needed to do karaoke. And I told them I was just drunk enough to say, "Sure, I'll do it. You pick the song." That was a really bad choice. So also another great karaoke song is Summer of '69. So I got to bust out Summer of '69 about 9 beers in. I don't know that it was any good, but it was kind of fun. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been there having people choose a song before, and I'll tell you, I've done it a few times, so I know how to sing Shania Twain, "Man, I Feel Like a Woman" pretty good now because I had to do that one a few times.
do you do
Karaoke.
the whole do you do the whole hair flip and
Well,
hip
yeah,
check
you
thing?
gotta
Oh
get
yeah.
into it. You gotta get into it if you're gonna do it. I mean, you
Yeah,
gotta put on a show if you're gonna put on a show. Um,
exactly.
Yeah, but I'll tell you the one that I never want to hear again as doing karaoke host was "Picture" by Sheryl Crow and Kid Rock. Almost every time
Oh,
there'd be some drunk couple there, and they'd want to sing "Picture." That was a new one.
yeah. Well, I'm glad it was
Yeah.
you. Just saying.
um, Papa Drew says the guitarist solo Blues Brothers "Sweet Home Chicago."
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When you because you know, it was talking about how you got a second chance in there, and you're talking about retiring now. But even if even if music hadn't has started working out and it didn't go as well as you thought it would you still be glad that you took the chance and instead of having the regret of not taking the chance when you got another opportunity to?
Yeah, again, that's an interesting story. So I never really quit playing, right? I always kept writing and all that. I quit performing for a couple of reasons. I had some physical problems with my voice that took a bit longer to heal than was originally projected. And then I had kids, and I had a son and a daughter, and both of my kids were very athletic, and they ended up being, Division I full ride ball players. My son played pro baseball for a bit, and if you know that lifestyle, you have no time, right? You have no time to really focus on anything other than doing their stuff. I always have had a music studio in my house, and I always continued to write. And many of the songs on Crossing Willow Creek are songs that I wrote during that period, when I wasn't really performing. But once they got out of college, I kind of looked at all these songs and thought, man, I just wonder if there's still an audience, for this style of folk rock, if you would, kind of music. And so we went in and started doing the recordings and threw them out there. And we've been very fortunate, yeah, to have a bit of a following, not only in the U.S. but across the globe. And come to find out, people still like old hippie music. Just saying. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun for me, and I enjoy it. And but to be honest with you, as far as the performing thing goes, I enjoyed playing at home as
Mm,
every bit as much as I do being on stage.
yeah.
And the whole process of doing the whole creative thing and writing the songs and telling the stories and matching them up to music and doing all that. That's really fun for me. I absolutely love doing that. I love the recording process, going into the studio and doing all that. And to be honest with you, I'll just tell you this story. You mentioned the tour earlier, but um, I played a few shows live, to promote the
Mm,
albums and do all that. And then I thought, well, man, I got this retirement thing happening. I wonder if it's still fun to tour because, I'm a bit older than I
right.
was, back in those days, And so we did the what we called the Living the Dream tour, all through Texas and Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona. And I had an absolute ball. Had fun doing it. It's pure solo. Didn't take the band, didn't take anything. I just went and played, and had an absolute ball. And found, interestingly enough, that although I might be a little bit older, this gray in my beard didn't come out of a bottle. That shit's real. You know. The music does transfer, right? People still
Yeah.
do get it. People of different generations, they still get interested in it, and they get interested in the process and the stories behind the tunes and all that. And so yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was very a learning experience for me to do the tour. I won't, it's hard work for sure. I'm sure you're aware.
Yeah.
So in my retirement, I won't have to jam it in. I'll just be able to pick, I'm going to go to Arizona. I'm going to stay out there for 3 weeks, play a bunch of shows. I'm going to go here. So I won't really have to work that hard at it and still get it in. So, yeah, good times, a lot of fun, lots of learning. And yeah, I'll do it again for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And Linda Barker, she says I'm an old hippie, so she feels you there. And Papa
Yeah.
Cruz RV wanted to say that he digs your hat
Oh,
and
thanks.
rock on.
Yeah, there's a reason I wear the hat. So let me comment to both of those people. There's a reason I wear the hat. Number one, I have the largest forehead. I'm looking at yours on camera. You've got a pretty large forehead as well. I have a really large forehead. As a matter of fact, my daughter, when she was a baby, she crawled up on my lap one day and was staring at me, and she says,
Yeah.
Daddy, I think you got the biggest forehead I ever saw. So
Mhm.
I do wear the hat somewhat to mask the forehead. But
Right.
realistically, with coronavirus, we've all been in somewhat of a quarantine, and it's really starting to ramp up here in Missouri now. We're starting to see a lot of stuff. And I also have what I call quarantine hair, and I'm going to hide that as much as I can with the hat. So that's why.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
But the old
Eh,
hippie thing, I have to tell you, I got a request. One of the things that we're doing right now during this time, you can't go out and play, right? I mean, the venues are all closed, and it's you can't go out and play. So I started this thing called the coronavirus sessions, right? And I take requests, right? And
mm,
people send me in requests for songs, and I actually record them, make a video of them. Here in my house, I have all this technological junk, and I make a video, post it out on Facebook, and all I ask in return is that whoever requested that song go out and support a local business, right? A mom and pop, order takeout or buy a gift card or buy something from their website, whatever. Just support them. I don't need your money. Just go support somebody, and I'll play your song for you. And it's been really successful. People have really gotten onto it. And back to the old hippie thing, I got a request for the Bellamy Brothers song called "Old Hippie," and I haven't heard that song in years. But I was listening to it the other day, trying to figure out how to play it, and I love the lyric where it says, "I'm an old hippie. This new life is just a bust. I ain't trying to fool nobody. I'm just trying real hard to adjust." So I love that line. So if you
mm.
watch my Facebook page, that song will be showing up out there as a home recorded video before too awful long.
Nice. Have you done Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd yet on there?
No, I actually do exercise first right of refusal for some songs. And yeah, I can play Pink Floyd. I mean,
Right.
everybody knows how to play Pink Floyd, and everybody knows the great licks, right?
Right.
And but I won't play any Pink Floyd. I have done some pretty unique ones in the course of this whole gig. So my granddaughter, who is 3, asked me to perform the theme song from Frozen, the movie
Wow.
Frozen, on an acoustic guitar. And because she's my granddaughter and she wanted me to do it, I did it.
Right.
I've also done something that I would never do in real life, but because this person was donating, $1,000 to a local business, I went ahead and did it anyway. But they wanted me to play a meatloaf song, you know, a meatloaf song, and that's really not who I am. So I
Right.
did it and had some fun with it. Kind of did a parody of it. I did wear sunglasses to maintain my anonymity, But yeah, so about anything's open now. My son wanted me to play a Jim Croce song called "The Ball of Carriamure," and I'm pretty sure if I did that one lyrically the same way that Jim Croce did it, I would be thrown off of Facebook. So I had to kind of not do that one.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, but
Well,
I have a lot of fun with it. It's a good time.
I thought one that would be interesting to hear your voice do because you have like you have a real bluesy voice and but I love the music you sing because uh the songs I used to sing in karaoke was a lot of Neil Diamond because my voice could fit it really well. Like I can imitate his voice really well when I sing. So
Yeah.
I love that kind of music. Yeah. Sweet Caroline, da da
Ba-bum-bum.
da. Yeah,
Yeah,
you got to throw a
exactly.
little
Yeah,
accent in there and stuff like that.
of course you do. Of
Um,
course you do.
yeah, yeah. Um, but Dan Fogelberg, leader of the band.
Oh yeah.
I
You go
think.
out to my Facebook page, you'll find Leader of the Band. It's one of my
All
favorite
right, I'll have to
songs.
check that one out.
It's one of my favorite songs ever, and it was actually Dan passed a few years ago, but it was his birthday last week, and I had a live stream show for a local group here in Kansas City this Sunday, and I played about 12 Dan Fogelberg songs.
Mhm.
He's one of my favorite artists all time. I love the way that he writes, and yeah, it was fun. But Leader of the Band, a fantastic song. We were talking about songs about your father. I mean, it don't get better than that one. Just saying.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah, that one's a tearjerker,
yeah,
especially not so much before you lose your dad, but after. Um,
yeah.
and then another one that I used to sing in karaoke is you did Gordon Lightfoot. If you could read my mind, I saw
Oh,
you
yeah,
play that one
yeah,
as well. And
yeah,
that's another long song that there is Wreck of the Edmonds Fitzgerald. Have anybody requested you do that one just because
yeah.
it's
I
so
don't.
long?
I'm pretty old, and I used to play the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Yeah,
But I don't think I have the mental capacity anymore to remember all those lyrics. Just saying.
that's a lot of
So
lyrics.
it's a lot of lyrics. But Gordon
Yeah.
Lightfoot, great. Great songwriter, and I love his music, and I love that song in particular. The one that I did. But interestingly enough, he was one of Dan Fogelberg's major influences. you know
Hmm.
and if you listen to the way that he spun his words, right, you can kind of see it. You can kind of see
Yeah.
how that is. So yeah, yeah.
There was a younger artist I talked to a while ago, Cody Francis, and he got a song, "It'll Be All Right," and it's going back to the acoustic, the folk stuff. And I told him, like, I I know it may not seem like it right now, but that's what's coming back around again because it's been so long. And now, if you look at what happened every time, it gets like really, really produced music, and then we get uh, goes back to where it's just the basic uh, singer songwriter stuff again. And I think that's where it's headed again because that's what my ears are drawn to. And then anytime I put those type of songs in my videos, that's what gets the most. Oh, that's a nice song.
Yeah, I think it is coming back around. I think there's a couple of reasons. First of all, I'm finding that people are looking for music that actually has more content than "baby, baby, baby." I love you, love you, love you.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe have something to say. Actually have a statement, a comment. A good story to tell. I think there's that, and I also think that the big production music it started. You know, Actually, Crosby, Stills and Nash were the first big band that really went on the big tours. That sold out the football
Yeah.
stadiums and all that stuff. Right? You lose contact. Right? It's harder. I've played in some of those places. And I've played in some huge places. Right? And it's hard to make contact with the audience. It's almost like, hell, why don't you just listen to the song, right? Because you can't make contact. My
Right.
favorite shows to play are small, 150 people, or
Right.
less, right? Where you can actually see the audience and you can actually make contact. You can have eye contact with them and see, hey, they're getting it. They're into this song. They're into what I'm doing. That's fun for me. And I hope that the industry figures out a way to make that economically viable for folks, because it's my favorite style of music. You know,
Hmm.
the first concert I ever went to in my life was Kenny Loggins and Jimmy Messina by themselves with a guitar. Right, the band,
Wow.
the bus that was carrying the band and all the gear broke down, and it was
Right.
just Kenny Loggins and Jimmy Messina and a guitar for 3 hours. I was in love. You know,
Yeah.
I love that. I love hearing the stories. I love understanding what the artist is trying to say. And hearing their backstories of what's really going on in the song. To me, it's fascinating.
That I'm the same way. I really get into that, and That's really interesting to hear you say because I that's I'm always curious of different people's perspective on being in that same place. That is almost that it feels when you get in front of such a large crowd, um, that it feels like it's almost unreal. Like your brain can't process that many people paying attention to you at once.
Yeah, I've done it, right? The big shows and all that, right? And it's cool. I mean, it is a way cool feeling, right? To stand up in front of 10,000 people and do your thing, and people laugh and clap, and it's cool. But it's much more of what I call a performance, right?
Hmm.
Than it is really playing your songs and explaining. So, um, and there's a lot of that. You look at some of the artists that are huge these days. I mean, they do a lot of that. And then you see other artists that are out there today that still manage to make that connection. And one of the best that I've seen personally that still has the ability to do the great big production and the great big show, but they sing fantastic songs and they can still make contact with the audience. Love Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters. He's
Yeah,
got
I've seen some of
great
his stuff.
songs and he can connect. I think, people will argue with me about this and probably call me all kinds of names, but I think Dave Grohl may be the last great rock star, because he really is that guy. Writes his own music, really says what he wants to say. And,
Right.
fantastic. They're just fantastic. And they can do it, but not many can. Not many can. It's more of the
Yeah,
production.
and I think it's because of everything that he had to face with what happened with Nirvana and everything else
Yeah.
that he I don't think he ever lost his sense of who he was as a person through all that. I think that grounded him so much that he's able to do, like you're saying, do what he wants. And yeah, bake a leg and like Stig it. Yeah, I love the Foo Fighters. And
Yeah. I was at that tour when he had broken his leg and he had the big throne, and it was it was just great. It was just great.
but,
I loved it. But you
yeah,
talk about a guy that took a chance, man. I mean, he was the drummer in Nirvana, the biggest band in the world at the time. And then, after Cobain passed away, he just looked at it and said, I think I'll be the front man now.
yeah,
That might be a bit of a change, man. And look what
yeah,
he's done. Look what he's done.
yeah,
So impressive. So impressive.
yeah. Especially when you hear the stories of him not really liking to sing the songs when he was doing the backup for Cobain in the studio, and then to be the front man, like he
Yeah.
didn't really want to do it. So
Yeah.
uh, yeah,
Well, for
and
not
then
wanting to do it, he does it well. So,
oh yeah,
yeah.
and then I want to know, you do a lot of charity works, and I work and give part of my revenue to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. So that's who I work with. So I'm just kind of interested, what what charities and different organizations have you worked with that have really touched you and made a difference in your life?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of into kids, and not in that way. But
Right.
when my kids were young, they were playing sports, and I got really involved in what they were doing, and I coached them for years and years and years. And I saw so many kids that didn't get the opportunities that my kids happened to get, right? And they didn't they just didn't get the chance, right? They weren't put in the right situations. And I work with a couple of organizations here in Kansas City that are youth organizations, and there's one in particular that I do a show for every year, benefit show, and help them raise money because they're down kind of downtown, inner city Kansas City, right? And they're building and have built a really really nice youth center in the basement of a church, and within that they have support for kids after school. They have food available for them. They help them with homework. They teach them art. They have other people come in, other artists come in and they do classes and teach them art. They have a little recording studio in there, because everybody wants to be a rock star, and it's really given kids an opportunity to maybe get off the street and have something else to do that's more productive, and there've been some really cool success stories out of that where, kids that were maybe on the wrong track got in and found out that they had a talent for art, or they had a talent for drawing, or they had a talent for writing. And, because they were in this group and these folks have some connections, they got
Mm-hmm.
them the opportunities that they wouldn't have had any other way. And I think that's something that I kind of have a heart for. I think there's a lot of talent that's wasted. And there's a lot of opportunity out there for people. And I think that we, who have a bit of a voice and a bit of a chance to do something to help kids out, really need to step up and do that, And, like I said, it's another concert for me. And, because I rarely play in Kansas City, particularly with a full band, we draw
Right.
a pretty good crowd for that. And people come in and they all know it's a benefit. And so they all come and they help them out. And I think that we have a responsibility, societal responsibility to do that. And it doesn't matter if you're a karaoke guy or if you're a podcast artist or if you're a guitar player or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I think we have a responsibility to give back. I've been lucky in my life. Yeah, I've worked hard, blah, 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 right? But I've been lucky. And some people don't get that chance, And so I think that we owe it to ourselves and we owe it to our society to say, maybe I can help, to say, help one person. You've changed a life, man. You've given somebody a chance that they wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah.
So really, what's more important than that? What's more
Right.
important than that? Yeah. When an example was on the tour, right? I was playing a place in Colorado. I think it was Alamosa, Colorado. Anyway, and there was a
I
guy.
used to have property right by there, so I know about Alamosa.
Yeah, no,
I
beautiful place, right? Beautiful
and
place.
it's dark at night because they keep the light pollution down so you can see the
Yeah,
stars and everything. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's beautiful. But I was playing the show and I noticed a pretty big crowd that night, and I noticed there was a guy that sat by himself, stage right, sitting right over here. I could still see him. And he sat there the whole concert. So I played for like 3 hours, right? And he sat
Mm.
there all night long. And then after the show, he came up and was talking to me. And this is an example of touching one life, right? I mean, like we were talking about with the kids. And he said, "Hey, Bill, I just wanted to let you know I drove 4 hours to come and hear you play tonight." And I thought,
Wow.
that's cool, And he said, and I came to hear one song, and you played it the very last song, right? And I always close my shows with my Find a Way song, the song we talked about earlier about my dad.
Yeah.
And he said, I really wanted to hear you play that song live. And I looked up, I said, look, man, I mean, that's cool, that you drove all this way, but is there some reason? I mean, there's videos of it out there, you can go
Right.
see
Right.
it. And he said, no, Bill, I had to come and hear you sing it live. And I wanted to come up and thank you for doing it. Because you see, I lost my mother 4 days ago. And that song is helping me work through that situation, work through that grief. And I thought, okay, check the box. This is why I came on tour. All the other
Yeah.
stuff is cool, right? But that dude, that meant something to him. That made a change in his life, right? And gave him something to hold on to. Well worth it. One guy
Right.
on tour for a month, 4,400 miles, right?
Right. Yeah. And you might not even remember Alamosa, Colorado, if it wasn't for that guy either, because it's not necessarily that memorable of a town. There's not that
Yeah.
much there.
Yeah. But see, that dude, right? That made it all worthwhile. So it was fun for me. It was
Yeah.
great. It was great. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of a change from doing a corporate gig, doing a creative gig, and then you have something like that happen, it's probably worth more than the biggest paycheck you ever got working your job that you've had all those years.
Well, I like my paychecks. I'm not going to say that I don't. Just
Right.
saying, because
Right.
that gives me some a lot of freedom to do what I do musically. Without really having to worry about the balance sheet, for example.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but I'm pretty fortunate in my corporate gig that I get to be creative in that space as well. So
Mhm.
I'm good. I mean, I don't do music. I do other stuff, but. Uh, yeah, I've been fortunate, really. 43-year career with one company. First of all, that doesn't happen.
Wow. No, not
Uh,
anymore.
yeah, and I've been really fortunate, and again, got lucky. Got lucky that some of the things that I dreamed up actually worked, and they liked it. But I think that from what I do musically, it's been a nice mix for the last 5-6 years that I've been doing a little bit of music on the side. It's been a nice mix, and I'm looking forward to being able to put the corporate stuff away and focus a little bit more on just the music stuff. So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to
Right.
it.
And the one song that I thought was real interesting, because I've always kind of enjoyed um, that type of critical message um, about systems in songs, is Crying Wolf.
Yeah,
Because when I especially since I've been really into doing this and researching people and stuff like that, I don't even really haven't even had the time to watch the news. But ever since I stopped watching it, anytime that I see anything pop up on now, it it makes me laugh, because it's like you realize how much they are hyping it one way or the other to sell the products in the commercials. When you watch the commercials, if you look at the story and then watch the commercial that follows or the one before, you start to see a connection with all that. So is that something that's fun to play to put out there and play?
yeah. The Cry Wolf song was fun, and it is fun, and I play it all the time. Folks tend to. I think it's sniffing around 1 million streams, I think, now. So folks have kind of gotten into it. But it says exactly what you said. It's funny. I was talking with a friend of mine earlier today about this very subject, and this is a friend of mine that's been very involved and was a state legislator for a while, and we were talking exactly about what you were saying. Right. At some point, you've got to look at that and say, the news, and I use that term loosely, uh,
Right.
the news, the slash opinion channels, right? They're businesses, man. They're
Yep.
businesses, and they got to make money, and so they've got to keep their advertisers happy and keep the revenue flowing, and so they're going to report the way that the money rolls, right?
Right.
And it's unfortunate, it's unfortunate that we have that situation, but realistically, it makes it kind of fun. So I'm a little bit of a news junkie. Okay,
Right.
I enjoy watching the news, and I have a rule, which was actually going on when I wrote the Cry Wolf song. I have a rule that I change stations every 15 minutes,
Right.
because I'm not going to lock into one station and their whole thing, because they're not going to tell me the real story. And neither is this one, and neither is this one, So you have to kind of take a blend of all of that and
Mhm.
somehow, process in your head what the real truth is, right?
Yep.
And that's really what the Cry Wolf, the Cry Wolf song is all about. Is nobody's going to tell you the truth, man, because the
Right.
truth doesn't make money, right? The truth is not sellable, right? And
Yep.
you have to find the truth yourself, and you have to own that. You have to be responsible for your own decisions and responsible for your own self, and don't just take somebody's word for what the truth is, because the truth is all about who's making the money, right?
Yeah.
I was watching an old movie not too long ago called Wag the Dog. I don't know if you've ever seen this. Got Dustin
I think
Hoffman
I
and
saw it a
Robert De
while
Niro.
ago,
Oh
but
yeah,
yeah.
I love this movie, and it is such a statement about how how the political world is really wrapped around the entertainment world, and how the entertainment world can really influence the politics, and
Mm.
hell, we've got the Democratic National Convention going on this week, and just all I've got to say is, yeah, you can see it. You can see exactly what you said, what the advertisers want to hear, what's going to sell. Of course, now we've got the Republican coming on next week, so it'll be a completely different group of advertisers and a
Yep.
completely different story, right? So, to me, it's fun. I enjoy it. I don't take it real seriously, but I think that the Cry Wolf song really just says, uh, you know, I always tell people I am not the guy, nor would I be so presumptuous to say I can tell you what to think because I know the answers, because I don't.
Mm.
All I really challenge people is to think. Stop. Sit back. Think first, and the rest will come easy, right?
Right.
Another statement my dad used to beat at me all the time when I was a kid. And again, as I've gotten older, I've realized the wisdom in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, just think, just stop and think. We're pretty bright people overall, right? And stop and think, you know. And that's what
Yeah.
Cry Wolf's all about. Please don't tell me the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, because at some point, just like in the Cry Wolf fable, I'm not going to listen anymore. And you might actually have something of value to say, but I've turned you off because of all this other craziness, right?
Yep.
And good God, we see it in social media like it's no tomorrow. So,
Yeah.
I've got a follow up. The next project that we're going to start recording in September, if COVID allows, right, has another song in it that I think is Cry Wolf on steroids. To be honest
Oh
with you,
man.
yeah, it's called "There's More to This Than Meets the Eye." So I'm going to throw that little teaser out there for you. But we will have that out and produced and available to the world before the election. Just saying, that's my commitment. But
Yeah.
it's Cry Wolf times 10, I think. Yeah.
Well, I'd love to have you back on when you have that come out, and we can talk about that one for sure. And these
Yeah,
guys are
man.
all they're all talking about their first concert in here. Been a couple different ones. Said tape here says their first was Lionel Richie, and my first technically, my mom said when she was pregnant with me, they went to Kenny Rogers.
Oh
So
yeah.
I guess that
Yeah.
technically that's my first one. What was it? What was the first person that you remember seeing?
The first concert I saw was a birthday present from my brother, and it was the Loggins Messina concert that we talked about earlier. So,
Yeah.
and from there, I was a bit of a concert dude. When I was a kid. So, I've seen, yeah, pick 'em. I've
Yeah.
seen
Yeah.
just almost everybody. I was pretty fascinated back in the '70s with what I called the arena rock bands.
Hmm.
Kansas, Boston, Styx, ELO, those guys. Loved that kind of music. The musicality in that music to me was really fascinating. I mean, those people could play,
Yeah.
and Kansas, the band Kansas is actually from based out of, they went to school at University of Kansas, which is in Lawrence. And I can remember when I was young in high school, long before I was 18, long before I was 21, having a fake ID and going to listen to them play in bars in
Yeah.
Lawrence, Kansas. And these are guys that have PhDs in music. I mean, they are fantastic musicians, and
Right.
I loved that that genre of music and all that stuff that went on with the arena rock. And of course, you gotta do ZZ Top and the Worldwide Texas Tour,
Yeah.
where the stage was shaped like the state of Texas, and there was a longhorn cattle and buzzards and all over the stage. I was there. I had to go see that. So
Yeah.
it's not that
My
every concert that I go to is an old hairy dude sitting on a stool playing guitar. I like other styles of
right.
music, but
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Mine favorite from that era, if you're going on musicality, would be Rush. That was
Oh,
my
well, of
favorite one
course.
from there.
Yeah, you just sit back in awe. I remember sitting with some really good friends in the basement of their house. Of course, I was in high school, Rush 2112 came out, right?
Mm.
And we had, back in the day, we had the huge big speakers, and all this stuff, and we were maybe in an altered state of consciousness to prepare, to listen to that album. And I will never forget listening to it. And the very last song, I forget the name of the song, but the very last song, all of a sudden you're listening. And of course, we're listening at unbelievable levels of volume, right?
Mm.
And all of a sudden you start hearing these words and you can't quite pick it out. And then you listen a little closer and you listen a little closer. And then at the end of it, you finally understand that he's saying, attention, all planets of the Solar Federation, we have assumed control. Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Linda Barker, she says, I saw Joe Walsh when she was in college and walked out, but now she regrets it.
Linda. So I'll have to tell you, I went to see the Eagles with my son in Kansas City. I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm kind of a Joe Walsh fan because I think he's fun and he's an interesting guitar player, right? But my story for that is if you look over my shoulder, I guess it's my left shoulder, you'll see the electric-y looking guitar. That's my PRS artist series, blah, 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 all this fancy stuff. And my claim to fame is that Joe Walsh played that guitar, not mine, but it's the exact same model at the Eagles concert. So that's my Joe Walsh claim to fame moment.
That's always a nice one to have. At least you got that. And you call your area back there Williams Wonderland of Wood, and you got quite a collection of guitars back there. How many do you have in your collection?
Well, there are 9 that hang here on the wall, and then there's the other ones that are in the other room. So I have quite a few. I think that guitars have personalities, and they have different sounds, particularly acoustic guitars. And so when I'm writing, if I have a certain feel for a song, then I have a plethora of different sounds and different guitars that I can use to kind of get into that space where that song really belongs. So I have a few, and that's one of the reasons that my loft here in Kansas City is called Williams Wonderland of Wood. The other reason is that name was given to my loft by my grandsons, my 15-year-old grandsons. So if you can think of probably the best analogy I could give you is think of a log cabin.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what my loft looks like. There is an appreciable amount of wood in this loft. And I like it. It's all rough edge wood. I live in a building that was, it's actually on the National Historic Register. It was built in 1880. And
Wow.
I bought my loft and completely ripped it apart and rebuilt it from the ground up. And there's a lot of wood. There's a lot of wood in here, almost to the point where when I was doing it, I'm going, man, this might be a little bit over the top, but it's not. So, yeah, but that's how it got the Williams Wonderland of Wood nickname. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, are you going to be playing another show from there anytime soon?
Yeah, I've actually got I've got to do a TV thing tomorrow. Actually, I have to record it. But I do live streams pretty regularly. I usually try to do at least 2 or 3 a month, and they're fun. Yeah, because you're trying to interact with people that you can't see. And in those things, I tend to tell a few more stories and laugh and giggle, and it's pretty relaxed because literally it happens right here. The microphone that I use, I am now touching. So you're this is where it happens. So I'll do a lot of those, and the best way to find out when is to go to my Facebook page. That's called Bill Abernathy, singer-songwriter.
Yep.
And I announce everything on there. And of course, I also have my website, which is billabernathy.com and all those. Yeah, look at you putting stuff up. So all that. Actually, if you go to the Bill Abernathy singer-songwriter gig, which evidently you have because you
Mhm.
saw the Stairway to Freebird, there's a bunch of these videos that
Yeah,
I've
on the
done.
on your YouTube channel you got there.
Yeah. On my YouTube channel, most of that is original stuff. But on the Facebook page, some of the cover songs that I've done, I don't remember how many we've done, 30, 35, something like that, of these videos that I make here in the Wonderland of Wood for people to support the local businesses. There's a bunch of them out there, and there's some pretty interesting videos, interesting songs. The Stairway to Freebird gig is out there, and some of the
Yeah.
Gordon Lightfoot and the Meatloaf song is there. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So just to say that, yeah, that is what it is.
Awesome. Yeah. And and we're up to the end of the hour, and the new album you have out is Crossing Willow Creek, and you guys can check it out. Like I said, on his on the webpage, you can get there, and it's probably on Spotify and Apple Music and all that stuff now as
Yeah,
well.
about any place you find music, I'm there. So go out and take a listen. If you like it, it's Crossing Willow Creek is really done well across the globe, and we've had several hits, if you would, and a lot of single action. So go out and check it out. If you like it, go to my website, drop me a line, shoot me an email, and we can kind of start a little bit of a relationship. That I was doing. I was talking to some folks the other day, and they said, "Bill, it seems like you're trying to build your fan base one base at a time," or one fan
Mhm.
at a time. And yeah, I think that's how you do it. And so yeah, go to my website, shoot me a note, and or send me a message on Facebook. I'm easy, and let me know what you think.
Awesome, awesome. And for the guys, I will see you tomorrow. Stop waiting for life to happen and make it happen.